Most people think you need a massive tech invention or a lucky lottery ticket to become a billionaire. But the man worth over $100 billion actually started by selling individual sticks of gum to his neighbors. This is the story of Warren Buffett, a boy from Omaha who refused to wait for permission to build an empire. By the time he was 11 years old, he was doing things with money that most adults are terrified to try. We are going to look at the specific steps and the mindset that turned a quiet kid into the world's greatest investor. You will see how a simple paper route and a few pinball machines paved the way for a financial legacy. Warren was born in 1930 in Omaha, Nebraska, right in the middle of the Great Depression. While the rest of the country was struggling just to find a meal, young Warren was obsessed with numbers. He spent hours at his grandfather's grocery store watching how people spent their hard-earned money. One of his first business ventures was buying 6 packs of Coca-Cola from his grandfather's store for 25 cents. He would then walk around his neighborhood and sell each individual bottle for 5 cents. That gave him a 5-cent profit on every pack, which was a huge return for a little kid back then. He also went door to door selling chewing gum, but he had a very strict rule for his customers. If a neighbor wanted to buy just 1 stick, Warren would refuse to break the pack of 5. He knew that if he sold a single stick, he might be left with 4 sticks that no one wanted. Even at 6 years old, he understood the importance of protecting his inventory and his profit margins. By age 11, Warren had saved up enough money to dive into the world of the stock market. He bought 3 shares of a company called Citi Service Preferred for about $38 each. He even convinced his sister, Doris, to invest her money and buy 3 shares alongside him. Shortly after they bought the stock, the price dropped all the way down to $27. Doris was worried and teased him every day about their money disappearing into thin air. Warren felt the pressure, so when the price finally climbed back up to $40, he sold everything. He made a small $5 profit and felt like a winner until he saw what happened next. The stock price didn't stop at $40, it shot all the way up to $200. This was a massive lesson that changed his life. If you want to get rich, you must be patient. He realized that by selling too early, he missed out on a fortune that would have changed his life. In high school, Warren didn't slow down his hustle while other kids were focused on sports or dating. He took a job delivering newspapers and managed to turn it into a high-volume business. He didn't just have one route, he took on multiple routes and delivered over 500 papers every morning. By the time he was 15, he had saved $2,000 from his paper routes and odd jobs. In the mid-40s, $2,000 was enough to buy a 40-acre farm in Nebraska. So, while his classmates were worrying about homework, Warren was technically a landlord collecting rent from a tenant. He also teamed up with a friend to buy a broken pinball machine for $25. They fixed it up and placed it in a local barbershop where customers would play while they waited. The machine was a hit, and soon they had pinball machines in barbershops all over the city. Warren eventually sold that business for over $1,000, proving he could scale any idea. When it came time for college, Warren went to Columbia University specifically to study under a man named Benjamin Graham. Graham was the father of value investing and taught Warren that a stock is a piece of a real business. He learned to look for companies that were selling for much less than they were actually worth. This concept is called the margin of safety, and it became the foundation of Warren's entire career. After college, Warren returned to Omaha and started an investment partnership with money from friends and family. He worked out of a small bedroom in his house and spent his days reading through thick books of financial data. He didn't have a computer or a fancy office, he just had a sharp mind and a lot of discipline. He told his investors that he would manage their money, but he wouldn't tell them exactly what he was buying. He asked them to trust him, and that trust paid off as the partnership grew at an incredible rate. One of his most famous moves was buying a struggling textile company called Berkshire Hathaway. At first, it was a failing business, but Warren used the cash it generated to buy other, better businesses. He eventually shut down the textile part of the company and turned Berkshire into a massive holding firm. Today, that single company owns brands you see every day like Geico, Dairy Queen, and Duracell. Warren's success didn't come from jumping on the latest trends or following the crowd. In fact, during the dot-com bubble of the late 90s, people laughed at him for not buying tech stocks. They said the old man from Omaha had lost his touch and didn't understand the new economy. But Warren stayed calm and refused to buy things he didn't understand, even when he looked wrong. When the bubble finally burst and the market crashed, Warren was the one left standing with billions in cash. He often says that his best quality isn't his intelligence, but rather his emotional temperament. He stays greedy when others are fearful and stays fearful when everyone else is getting greedy. Despite being one of the richest men on the planet, Warren lives a surprisingly simple life. He still lives in the same house in Omaha that he bought back in 1958 for $31,000. He drives himself to work every morning and stops at McDonald's to pick up a cheap breakfast. If the stock market is up that morning, he might spend $3.17 on a biscuit. If the market is down, he goes for the $2.61 option to save a little money. He spends about 80% of his day sitting in an office and reading books or reports. He believes that knowledge builds up like compound interest, so he reads 500 pages every single day. Warren doesn't buy fancy clothes or expensive yachts because he doesn't feel the need to show off. He understands that the real goal of wealth is freedom and the ability to choose how you spend your time. He also famously pledged to give away over 99% of his fortune to charity before he dies. He wants his children to have enough money to do anything, but not so much that they do nothing. The story of Warren Buffett shows us that wealth isn't built overnight or through secret shortcuts. It is built through small, consistent actions and the power of waiting for the right moment. It started with a pack of gum and a paper route, and it grew into a mountain of gold. You don't need to be a genius to follow his path, but you do need to be incredibly disciplined. Focus on what you know, save your pennies, and let time do the heavy lifting for you. If a boy from Nebraska can build $1 billion fortune, imagine what you can do with the right habits. If you want to master the same money habits that Warren used to build his empire, watch this video next.